Hey, welcome to the Caffeinated Librarian. My name is Amy.
And I'm Simona.
And we're going to be talking about Nailed it. We're going to be talking about Wynonna Earp, which is airing on Netflix. And it is in honor of Pride Month, which is June. So happy Pride, everyone. So it is a fantastic show. I'm completely addicted. What do you think?
It is really good. So the first 3 seasons of the show are currently available on Netflix. The filming for the 4th season was postponed due to COVID. So I'm not sure when that will resume. I really enjoy it. Just some quick background on the show. So it's a supernatural Western horror Canadian American production. It's based on the graphic comic series that's written by Bo Smith. It was developed by Emily Andrus, who is the executive producer and showrunner for the show Lost Girl, which is also available on Netflix. It's another supernatural paranormal story. And she was the executive producer for seasons 3 and 4. On TV, the channel that acquired the rights to Wynonna Earp is the Sci-Fi Channel. The first season premiered on April 1st, 2016. And just to run down who the main characters are and the actors. So Melanie Scrofano plays Wynonna Earp. Shamir Anderson is Deputy Marshal Xavier Dawes. Tim Rozone is Doc Holliday.
My love.
And I'm not sure if I pronounced his last name correctly, but I'm just going to go with it. Dominique Provost Shockley, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly either, is Waverly Earp, and Catherine Barrell is Officer Nicole Hott. So those are just simply the main characters because there are too many side characters to mention. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did hear about it prior to watching it on Netflix, but I don't have cable. So
oh dear.
I couldn't watch it, but when I did watch it, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a wonderful show.
Same here.
Yeah, it's a really great show. Just to talk about a little bit about the mythos of the series, and Amy, you could feel free to add if I miss anything.
Sure.
So Wynonna Earp is the great-great-granddaughter of Wyatt Earp. So Wyatt Earp was a lawman during the 1800s, and he was in possession of this legendary revolver that is known as Peacemaker. And Wyatt Earp, while he was alive, sentenced, I think it's about 70 or so men to death. And these men, of course, were criminals. And basically, the Earp family is cursed to sort of every generation. They have to send these men who are reborn as, they call them revenants, but you can think of them as demonic entities. So every generation, they're cursed with the task of having to kill these demonic entities and send them back to hell. And Wynonna Earp becomes the heir to this legacy, and she inherits Peacemaker.
Yep. And just for any history nerds, a quick, well, actually, they do not really know if that Buntline special was like the gun he really used. And you're not really going to meet anybody that's historically a person, I don't think. I've been trying to.
Well, Doc Holliday.
Well, other than Doc, yes.
Oh,
Doc. But,
yeah.
He killed a lot of dudes. And I was kind of hoping that some of the dudes that he killed would actually make an appearance. When Doc showed up in the first episode, I was like, it's on! Because I don't know why, but I am fascinated with Wyatt Earp. He's the only only person like this in history that I am fascinated with, but I am
Mm.
fascinated with Wyatt Earp. So so I was super excited about this. So just, to start out, I watched the first season. I'm halfway through the second, but I feel like maybe we should just focus on the first with just our designated spoilers for the first season.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So just straight from the beginning, the first thing I noticed when Doc showed up in the second episode was that when he was talking about the Buntline special, also known as Peacemaker, the gun that Wynonna inherited, he said she was talking about it, and Doc said that, are there initials on the bottom of the gun? And she said yes. Doc Holliday had them engraved in honor of, I don't remember what kill. And he said maybe he was sweet on him. And I was all excited about, some Doc Wyatt love, but then that was never mentioned again.
I must have completely zoned out when he mentioned the initials, because this is the second, this would be the second time that I watched those episodes. I do not remember Doc even mentioning that.
Oh yeah, it's like when she thinks he's like a history buff in an adorable costume.
Yes, yeah.
In the bar.
I remember that. I don't remember the initials thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. Although, like, once you eventually watch the other seasons, I don't think that is ever hinted at again.
That makes me sad.
Yeah, if that even was the intention of the writers, I really don't know.
Yeah, maybe they just got misdirected, or not misdirected, but they had maybe enough, in terms of LGBTQ plot lines, and the heteros went mad for Doc, and they kept him.
I mean, honestly, anything is a possibility. I'm kind of tired in many regards with shows that either do queer baiting or I have no patience for that anymore.
Right.
I, there's, I don't know, like there's a lot of shows that do that.
Yeah.
The one show that really comes to mind is Supernatural, did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
queer baiting. People have called the show out on the queer baiting, but
Yeah.
I guess the writers don't really care. But I would rather have a
Well,
genuine queer character than you just like trying to like tease
make
me.
everyone buy.
Yeah, or just like this whole teasing thing, but you have no plans of really carrying it through.
Right.
Like that
Right.
really bothers me. But I am seeing you had some notes. Were there any, like you mentioned you had a question about the revenants?
Oh, right. I forgot I shared my screen. Awesome. Perfect. Yes. Yeah. What uh my husband and I have spent countless minutes pausing the show and discussing how the revenants work.
Okay.
Because, like, when do they get sent back to hell? When do they come back? Do they keep their identities? Like, I don't know any of these things, and I don't feel it was clearly explained anywhere, and it hurts my brain.
So from what I understand, based on like just watching the show, I haven't really looked this up elsewhere, and I don't know if I had any notes on the revenants. No, I don't. I meant to, but I don't have any. From what I understand, so the revenants are, and I think there are 72 in total. Like, I don't know, that number pops into my mind. So these
Yeah,
are
70, 77, something like that.
yeah, so these are the men that Wyatt Earp was responsible for killing or having killed.
Or in one scene, just making somebody testify was as good as killing them, which I thought was a little bit shady in terms of, just keeping the rules the same.
Yeah, yeah. 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 So yeah, I see what you mean with that. That is a little, I don't know. I don't really think they clearly explain it either. I mean, you have a lot of back and forth with the characters explaining, but the way I understand is that they are the demonic entities of the men that Wyatt Earp either killed directly or indirectly had
Hmm.
killed. So every since so from Wyatt on, there's been this curse. So every subsequent generation, every heir to Wyatt Earp's legacy is responsible for killing these revenants, sending them back to hell. I'm assuming they take possession of bodies because there's one episode where this revenant is doing a ritual to sort of switch bodies and
Right,
be
right.
able to cross the Ghost River Triangle, which is
Hmm.
essentially this mystical force field that prevents them from leaving. So he performs this spell, and he is going to take possession of a new body. So I
Right.
don't think that they're reborn in the bodies that they had as when they were human. The way I understood is that they take possession of bodies. But that's how
Okay.
I understood revenants and how the revenants work.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, that's as good as an explanation as I've heard or that I can think of. So I'll go with it.
Cool.
Um, I I can't like my husband and I. So I'm upping my notes since you can see them, so that's
Yeah.
convenient. Um, so my husband and I, again, he's my watching partner, have been casting people for Buffy
Oh,
because it so fits like a grown up Buffy paradigm.
I see what you mean.
So, like Wynonna, Buffy, Waverly, Willow, she's like taken all this time to become a scholar of several languages and all this stuff. Doc as Spike, which is, I mean, I guess that's why I love him so much.
Hmm.
Uh, Dolls, who is Wynonna's boss
Yes.
when she's recruited into the Black Badge division of, I don't know what force that is, though. Is that FBI?
No,
Like, I don't know where that is. I never really took a lot of time to figure that out.
I get from what I gather, it's a shadow branch of the government. I don't think it's affiliated necessarily with like CIA, FBI, because there's a scene
Mm-hmm.
where Sheriff Nedley is talking to Marshall Dawes, and he says, I called FBI. I think I said I
Mm-hmm.
work from the CIA. They've never heard of you. So
Right. Well, they'd say that either way.
yeah, but I definitely get the feeling that it's very much like the Watchers Council,
Right,
where
right.
if you're in the know, you'll know, but if you're not, they might as well not exist. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I guess since we're going with the whole Buffy parallel, that's how I would see them as being the Watchers Council.
Yeah, I mean, once you think of it this way, it's kind of it like throws itself like full force into it.
Yeah.
And Willa's the sister that
Yes.
Wynonna and Waverly, that was their older sister, and
Yes.
she was supposed to be the heir, and their father was training her and like kept saying over and over again that she's going to be the next generation. She's going to be responsible for killing all the revenants,
Mm-hmm.
and like her whole life just seems like it was a super hot mess. And so but she's very mercenary, and I found like before she got her memories back, she was you could you could see this mercenary nature, but you didn't know what caused it. So
Yeah.
she was very like there was one part where Waverly is just trying to connect with her and like has this whole scrapbook of Willa's death and her funeral and everything. And she said, like, I was just trying to convince myself you were dead. And like really like opening her heart up. And she was 6 years old when Willa was taken. So it wasn't like she had a lot of capacity to feel for Willa. And Willa just said, must have been so hard for you.
Yeah, with Willa's character and just a little background, you sort of this this information is revealed later on in the season. So as always, there will be spoilers. I know Amy mentioned it before, but I'll just mention again, there will be spoilers. So as Amy said, Willa was the older sister. Through flashbacks in the first few episodes, you learn that their homestead, which is basically Wynonna and Waverly's childhood home, one night was attacked by several revenants. Their father was dragged outside, their older sister Willa was taken, and Wynonna, in a desperate attempt to help, fires Peacemaker. Instead of hitting a revenant, she kills her father. And Willa's taken, and they basically never know what happens to her. The assumption is that she was killed. You later learn that Willa, in fact, wasn't killed, that she's very much alive. She has been living with this cult, this very weird cult of very beautiful women under the leadership of this one guy.
A very scary revenant.
Yes. And Willa basically, she's almost like you said, a blank slate. She doesn't have much personality. I mean, there are some hints to what she's really like, but she's almost pretty much childlike while she's with the cult members. She's rescued, she's brought back to the homestead. Wynonna and Waverly try to jog her memory. And little by little, her memory comes back, and also her personality. And you learn that Willa is not as sweet as probably her sisters remember her to be, or chose to remember her as being.
Well, I mean, I don't think Waverly ever thought she was sweet.
No, because I mean, there are hints that Waverly and Willa didn't have a good relationship.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And you learn, of course, I don't know if this is revealed in the first season or later, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But you do
No,
learn.
it's the first.
Okay, so
that she starts like that. It's revealed.
Yeah. So you eventually do learn why Willa wasn't too happy with Waverly, why she had this resentment toward Waverly. So yeah. So Willa,
well, we don't know if Willa knows that. We never know. There's some question of Willa's paternity, and we'll be talking about the big bad of the season.
Oh,
and just
yeah,
ripping out the spoilers on that. Bobo is the big bad of the season, and it's and he's super interesting, and I feel sad, and that we didn't get more of Bobo. You know, he was very one-dimensional until like all of a sudden at the end he got all of these dimensions and then got killed. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping he returns. You know, I don't know how they would do that, but I'm hoping that he comes back to be a big bad or a big good at some point, because it seems that he and Willa were in love, and he at the end, when he's leaving with Willa to be bad, he hides Waverly. He doesn't let Waverly get killed by Willa, and he also says that she's not an Earp, so we don't know who's her father.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of like a big reveal, and it's well worth the wait when you eventually get to that point. Yeah, going, there's something I see in your notes, you mentioned abused because of training and like the whole cult thing.
Yeah, back to Willa.
Yeah, there is a sinister element to the way their father raised them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there are hints that he probably wasn't father of the year.
Well, and he like hit their mother.
Yeah. So, I mean, Wynonna, obviously, because of her guilt, I don't know if that also taints or colors her image of her father. I'm trying to remember if she eventually wakes up to certain realities. I honestly don't remember, but I will be probably rewatching the show anyway.
Well, they had a much different relationship.
Yeah.
He and Willa, like, he saw that, you know, he had to try and keep her alive. So he had a much different outlook with her. Like he kept her up all night practicing when, you know, she should have been like sleeping because she had a test. And
Yeah.
he didn't care about her academics because that was not what she was going to be doing with her life. And, you know, like clearly he was going to have to fight with her to try and keep her alive. He was already like abusing their mom. So it seems like he was just having it out with her, probably.
Yeah, and when you mentioned the whole thing about giving up the academics, again, since you brought up the Buffy parallels, there is very
Mm-hmm.
much that parallel with many of the Slayers
Right.
not having lives outside of their calling. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely Willa and perhaps her sisters as well, to maybe one extent or another, would never really been able to have normal lives, because if
Right.
they were all living together, one would assume, because, and going back to the homestead, it's very important, and this is spoken about in the first or second episode. So the homestead was protected. Surrounding the homestead was this protective, powerful mineral that Marshall Dawes actually speaks about.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot remember what it's called. I wrote
It's a big, long, fake mineral name.
Yeah, I know I wrote it down. I know I wrote it down, and I probably won't be able to find it now. But this mineral was basically, it surrounds the homestead and it acts as a barrier to demonic entities. And what you learn was that Bobo convinced the very young Waverly, because she thought Bobo was her imaginary friend, to
Well,
remove the.
they thought he was her imaginary friend.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
know. She probably always said he was real, and they were like, "Oh, she's a little kid. She has an imaginary friend."
true. So he convinced her to bury this,
Very,
yeah,
yep.
bury this talisman that would nullify the power that this mineral gave to the homestead. And that's how the revenants were able to sort of attack the homestead in the first place. It was crippled. The power of the homestead was crippled by this talisman that Bobo had a very young Waverly bury in the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's another thing that you learn, which is why, because the whole thing was that for many years they couldn't figure out how the revenants even got onto the homestead.
Right.
And eventually you learn that's how. So Waverly was tricked into sort of weakening her home's protective power, and that's how the revenants broke in.
And I have a bone to pick about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so in other giant reveal spoiler news, the dad um basically made a deal with the revenants that he would break the curse with them so that he didn't have to do this to the girls. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
want them to suffer. He didn't want them in danger all the time. He just wanted it over. So he was going to cross the boundary of the triangle with one of the revenants, and they were going to break the curse. And so he wanted it to look real, so he asked them to take him, which begs the question, why didn't he bury the thing? Like,
Hmm.
you know, like that makes me crazy. Like, why did all of this underhanded action happen? Did they, was this not the plan? I mean, I know Willa was taken as insurance and that was never part of the plan, but
Yeah.
was it not part of the plan that they were going to take him that night anyway? Because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to get onto the property.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I don't know if it's a matter of like the writers reworking the storyline, because I know
Mm-hmm.
when Bobo talks with Doc Holliday has like several meetings with Bobo, because he's sort of not infiltrated the trailer park, or you know, yeah, I guess I'll call it a trailer park, where
It's a
Bobo
trailer park.
where Bobo and his demons and their sort of human helpers, I'll call them for lack of a
Mm-hmm.
better word, live. And
Groupies.
yeah, they are basically the groupies. In his many conversations with Bobo, he mentions how, you know, that Bobo thinks he has a tight control over his minions, but they have this desperate desire to break free. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming, obviously, Bobo's intention is to also break free, but I think he wants to go about it in a much different way than the other revenants do. So I'm wondering
Right.
if the reveal about the father was indeed planned, it wasn't an afterthought. Perhaps it's a
Mm-hmm.
matter of Bobo had one way of doing it, his followers had another. There probably was no communication.
Yeah, but Bobo had her bury the amulet.
But maybe, well, I don't know. Then
I
I
am,
guess I
or maybe it was his backup plan. I don't know. It just
probably, yeah.
frustrates me. I am a plot continuity nerd.
No, I understand.
I think I have to come clean about my problem. It frustrates everyone. So, but I just do want to talk about Willa
Sure.
um a little bit more because she's fascinating. And like, so she comes back and finds that she's the heir. So, we've definitely got the second Slayer thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Which also happens in the first season. It's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
and it just to interrupt myself mid tangent, I just want to say, like, also the wit is there too, like that just completely irreverent comedy running through the whole thing.
Yes,
And
definitely.
that's why I love it. It's just like all the comebacks, that she's having a good time.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's just having fun. And I like that. It's not super serious. And that's why I enjoy it so much. But so Willa, comes back mid-season. She realizes that, like, Bobo doesn't just want her dead, because when people are coming onto the property while they're trying to find the amulet that was buried to let them on, she is about to get killed by a revenant, and Bobo goes nuts on that
Mm-hmm.
revenant, just
Mm-hmm.
just kills him to death. And so she's like trying to figure out what's going on with that, and doesn't let Wynonna shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on she says, one day I'll have my memory back and I'll find out how you hurt me. So
Mm.
she doesn't even, like, and you know she actually, they are in love, and in a as much of a way as people as warped as they are can be in love. But it's interesting that she just can't trust anyone. Like the look on his face when he saw her, and the way he killed that person, it would kind of signify to me, like, wow, we had a thing.
Yeah, I'm starting to remember that scene now as you talk about it. Honestly, when I was first watching their interactions, I got the impression that he was more in love with her than
Right.
she actually is with him. I got the feeling that it may have started off as genuine because it's that beautiful scene where you see an adult Willa in like this tree house,
Mm-hmm.
and she's wandering around this tree that is in the center of the tree house. It's a house obviously built around a tree. And Bobo goes in there. And I think at that moment there was genuine love from her part.
Right.
Later
Well, I
on,
mean, Stockholm syndrome, maybe, but
probably, but I got the feeling honestly that Bobo loved her more than she loved him at that point, because there were moments when I thought, oh, she's gonna betray him. Right
oh
now,
yeah, I mean,
she's playing along with him, but yeah, I that kind of made me sad for Bobo because I think on his part it is genuine. On her part, I don't really know how genuine at least at that moment in time
I
when they're reunited.
yeah, it doesn't seem to me that Willa's character arc, okay, trained to be the heir and probably beaten by her drunk father in the name of training, then abducted by the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
then being really well taken care of as a prisoner of war,
Mm-hmm.
and just being, like, just generously treated and doted on by Bobo, and
Mm-hmm.
then stolen by a witch,
Mm-hmm.
and then stolen by a cult. You know, nothing in that character arc would make anyone less than super, super in it for themselves. She doesn't have the capacity. I
Yeah.
don't think she, I think she loves him as much as she can love anyone, but she loves herself
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I am definitely very fascinated by Willa, probably obviously. And again, I'm kind of bummed that she left us so early too,
Yeah. Well, maybe she'll make
because
a comeback.
she might make a
No.
comeback.
Well, no, she kind of. Well, there's always a possibility. I'm putting it out there. But what did you think about Nicole and Waverly? Because like
Okay.
at first I thought the
Yes.
attraction was very random, but then like from the first meeting, like rewatching, I was like, oh no, it's pretty obvious that Waverly is into her as well. Like at
Mm-hmm.
first I thought it was a gradual getting into her, but I thought like I wanted to know like what your thoughts were on their relationship and like just the character of Nicole in general.
Right. Nicole, man, I am troubled by her. I am troubled by her. She comes in and like is immediately all over Waverly.
Mm,
And like Waverly is a little bit, I mean, she's obviously never been in a lesbian relationship and is like very conflicted about her feelings.
mm-hmm,
And so I think that that's part of it. That's part of my, like Nicole is like just she knows what she wants and she's like all about it. And I like her a lot. But then her her character arc is super weird too. Like, she's never in the group
mm-hmm,
really so far. I mean, maybe I'm halfway through season 2 and I just feel like she's going to die pretty soon. Which is sad cuz I like her, but um and I have trouble and it's funny cuz I googled whether, like the chemistry between them
mm-hmm,
and I cuz I feel like there's just something weird.
mm,
And like I don't know, maybe it's Waverly, kind of still being a little conflicted about it. Um and that's the off chemistry I get. But sometimes they're like amazing looking together and sometimes I'm just like uh and I don't know why. And like I looked online and everybody's like the chemistry is undeniable and I'm kind of like okay.
I'm not
Like I
sure.
don't know why I'm not getting it all the time.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what my first impression was like when I first watched the show. I mean, I don't know. I don't recall having those thoughts, but maybe if I continue watching it, like for a second time, maybe more things will come up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's funny because when Nicole is first introduced, Waverly is like working at the bar and she's just like splashed herself with like a ton of beer.
Oh my
And,
god,
yeah, and
I could not even with that scene.
yeah, and like Nicole is just like staring at her and she's like, oh my God, like I'm such a mess. And then she's about to take off her shirt. She's like, would you mind turning around? And Nicole obviously immediately turns around, but then she gets stuck. So Nicole has to like help
And
her
how
out.
do you get stuck in your shirt? I
I
mean,
I
this
I
girl
don't
has
know.
21 years of taking off shirt experience.
I guess they had to like I don't know, put that, romantic moment in there somewhere. Um, but it's funny how like it almost so Nicole can be Tara.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
going with
She's got
that.
that
And then
Buffy tangent.
yeah, and then Waverly's boyfriend, whose name is Champ, which I find hysterical. Like
I love
honestly,
Champ.
when you look at that, honestly, when I first saw the actor, something about it almost like he was a wax model from a museum. I
He's
don't know if
very pretty.
I don't know if it's the makeup issue with him, but something like I do a double take. Like I almost suspect he's a hologram. Like I'm like I think it's the makeup, but
Well, I
he's
think he's also really like he's a very pretty boy. And I mean like that makes
good.
up for like I think that's like he's got virtually nothing else going for him. He's just a jerk. He's dumb.
Which almost makes me wonder why Waverly would date him in the first place. Because Waverly definitely is someone with a lot of depth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we all can like everyone can have their like goofy moments, but she
Right.
strikes me as very level-headed. She has
Mm-hmm.
her goals, and Champ very much is purely on the physical. Like you know why
Right.
he's dating Waverly. He has no
Mm-hmm.
interest in her outside of her physical, and
Right.
I'm like maybe it was a desperation factor. Maybe no one else would date her because she's Wynona's younger sister.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was social engineering. I think
Yeah,
she was trying to make herself not just the sister of the crazy Wynonna she was institutionalized for killing her father and ranting about revenants.
yeah.
So, I think Waverly kind of just did all of her smart stuff on the DL and
Mm-hmm.
then, tried her best to fit in so that she wasn't slaughtered socially.
Yeah, yeah. I just I don't know. I kind of think that there probably would have been better options, but who
Well, it
knows?
is a
But
small town.
yeah,
It's a
but
small town full of revenants.
he is a very funny character, and going back to Nicole, when you first see the three of them together, like Waverly starts crying and Nicole reaches to comfort, and then Champ comes out of nowhere and starts like kissing her
Yeah.
cheeks, and then like he turns toward Nicole and he almost gives this look. Like I don't know if I was reading into the look, but I'm assuming everyone else in town knows Nicole is a lesbian. I don't think
Well,
Nicole is.
she's new to town,
Oh,
but
I thought.
I thought she was
Oh,
new to town.
I thought she had been in town for a while because I mean
But
she's
she
obviously
has
not
like no
home.
idea what's going on. Like
Oh,
that people don't get gutted every Tuesday in the town that she came from.
oh, okay. So maybe I must have misunderstood something. Okay, so never
Well, I
mind. So
thought so. I could be wrong.
maybe the town doesn't know. But I almost thought like with Champ's look that he was giving, almost like she's mine, like just back off.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but
he's
it's just like
definitely protecting his turf and he's showing concern in a way that makes it about him.
yeah, definitely. That
I'm
moment was
okay,
like,
baby. I'm okay. I'm
yeah,
okay
like
because that was
that
the
moment.
only thing she was worrying about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was funny at the same time. I was like, "Oh my God, you're just so dumb," But
Yeah, yeah.
he is one of the likable characters in the fact that he's just so funny and ridiculous.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So, were there any other? Because I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah.
Were there any other like points or any like that you wanted to address or anything else that you wanted to mention?
Um. Okay. Well, I mean, like I just okay. I love Doc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Um, I just I wish we would see more of his past. Like all you see is like one interaction between him and Doc. Oh, two interactions between him and Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really hoped that we would see more of them, and like they apparently did like stop talking to each other in real life, and there are a bunch of different accounts of that, like that they had a huge falling out or they just like went their separate ways. And I wish that instead of just like that, like, well, you're dead to me now, there could have been something more. Like I feel like they could be plumbing more with him. I feel the same way with Bobo, that there's a lot of undiscovered country. I mean, I know that we have more to go with Doc, and hopefully we'll learn more. But it just I find a lot of the characters less dimensional than I'd like.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes I think could just be like, when you have that first season,
Right.
things
Yeah.
are sort of all over the place, and then as the
Hmm.
show and the writers get an idea of what they're trying to do, what story they're trying to tell, things get a bit more fleshed out.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what my hope is.
yeah, in terms of Doc Holliday, I will say he is also one of my favorite characters, also because the actor, I I think the mustache does wonders for him. I've seen him without it. I'm pro mustache on Simra's Zone. It's like
It's a big mustache though.
yeah, but
I've seen his pictures. He seems to be like kind of the Van Dyke beard and like a smaller mustache. He definitely benefits from the facial hair. I agree.
he definitely does, and I love his old world look. It makes
Hmm.
him all the more attractive and handsome that he, while he is in the modern world, he still retains, which I guess makes sense because for all those years he's been in a well.
Right.
Oh yeah,
I
so when you
do miss the hat
yeah,
in
so
season 2.
yeah, and we forgot to mention that when Doc is first introduced, he's crawling out of a well, which he's
Right.
been down for many, many years.
Yeah. And
Um,
and we never do you ever find out like you've watched more do you, even if you
yes,
don't tell me, do we find out why he's in the well?
yes,
Okay. Well, that will be nice. I look forward to that.
yes. We definitely find out. You find out who put him in there, and you find out why he was put down the well.
Fantastic.
Yes. So, so just as a closing,
Yes.
Wynonna Earp is a really great show. As I mentioned earlier, all 3 seasons are available on Netflix. When the 4th season is coming out, unfortunately, we don't really know. But I would highly recommend it if you are into Western stories, if you like horror, if you like the paranormal. This has all of that. It also has romance, great family relationship, great friendships in general. Um, and
Buffy.
Nicole, yes. So if you liked Buffy, and especially for Pride Month coming up, I would also recommend Buffy. Buffy does have good queer characters, and just a great story overall. Amy and I love Buffy. And this show is also very good, so I would definitely highly recommend it. It's worth the watch.
Definitely.
So we'd like to thank you all for listening to us. Once again, we hope that you're all staying safe and that you're staying well.
At
And
home. At
yes,
home.
yes, and we look forward to talking with you again for the next podcast episode. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.